Hey everyone, what's going on? I'm pretty far behind on this video because it's going to be in regards to the death of Ross Perot that happened on July 9th. But I need to cover this video because it is connected to a lot of the things that I have been documenting about over the years. And even odder is that earlier in 2019, I even blogged about Ross Perot. On March 5th, I made this blog post about Ross Perot and how there was something important to Ross Perot. There was this Saturday Night Live theme that was going on. I got a YouTube strike on February 15th, and that was the same day as the Aurora, Chicago shooting, and a bunch of other things, And 215 was a perfect day because Saturday Night Live equaled 215. Chris Farley's birthday was 215, and so on. I also noted that the film Wayne's World was important, and Wayne's World was on Saturday Night Live, and the last time that it aired was on February 15th of the year 15. And this was interesting because around this same time I was re-talking about this narrative from 2015 with Kanye West and the band Slipknot and how it is connected to the song Bohemian Rhapsody by the band Queen. And I'll leave a link to that video in the description. I'm not going to re-explain it all, but just keep in mind that in October of 2018, Kanye West had visited the White House, and then just after that, they announced that Slipknot was going to be performing at the Iowa State Fair for the first time ever. They're an Iowa band, and they released tickets on the same day that the film Bohemian Rhapsody came out. And this was just a couple weeks after Kanye West had visited the White House. And if you go back to 2015, I made a big narrative thing about this. And it was synced up to the 2015 VMAs, where I talked about it was synced up to Freddy Krueger and the death of Freddie Gray. And then on the same day as the VMAs, we got the death of Wes Craven, the guy who made the Freddy Krueger movies. But at the VMAs, Kanye West also said he was going to run for president in 2020, right? And then he goes and visits the White House in 2018. And there was this other narrative that was going on with all the blackface stuff that was synced up to Saturday Night Live, Kanye West, and so on. So, Bobby Simpson had mentioned something to me about Ross Perot and Dana Carvey and whatnot. So I documented about Ross Perot, and I noticed his name equaled 215, just like Saturday Night Live, and so on. I knew there was something important to Ross Perot. And then, like a month later, on April 4th, there was some random story about this Kentucky guy found wandering on a bridge or something, and they thought he was a missing child from Aurora, Illinois. And remember, on 2/15 this year, we got the Aurora, Illinois shooting. And there's been this narrative with Slipknot is important to Iowa. It's important to the band Slipknot in Iowa. And in 2015 as well, Donald Trump said that he was Batman in a helicopter at the Iowa State Fair. And this is important because think about Aurora, Illinois. You remember the Batman shooting was in Aurora, Colorado. And I just looked up Aurora again, the Aurora shooting, and there's three of them. The one in the movie theater in 2012, and then the Aurora, Illinois one in 2019. And there was another one in 1993, which was on December 14th, which in 2012 was the same day of Sandy Hook. And Sandy Hook was important to that Batman shooting. If you remember, on the map in that Batman movie, it even had Sandy Hook and so on. Them two shootings were in relation to each other. So it's funny, there was an Aurora, Colorado shooting on, the anniversary, or Sandy Hook was on the anniversary of this other Aurora, Colorado shooting. And within this post I just mentioned, there's something connected to Saturday Night Live. I was also documenting about how I had this synchronicity with my friend Cody, and it was all about Saturday Night Live around the same time. And I just wrote, it has to be connected to Ross Perot with the Alec Baldwin stuff, and he portrays Donald Trump. And Dana Carvey, who's in the movie Wayne's World, he was also known for portraying Ross Perot on Saturday Night Live. And then lo and behold, a few months later, now Ross Perot ends up dying. And it's funny that when he died too, I had to work, I wish I could make more videos and whatever. I have so many other things that I have to do. That's part of the reason why I document about these experiences in my own life, because I can't just sit around and decode the news all day long. And somehow I can decode the news by these things that happen in my own life. I know other people should be able to do this, but I don't know. I just pay that much attention. I make sure to document all of these things, and it never fails. It's always important to what is going on. So, but anyway, Ross Perot, I woke up on the day that Ross Perot died. I woke up in the morning, and just before I went to work, I noticed the story, Billionaire announces his presidential bid. And I took a screenshot of it on my phone because I was like, dude, I've documented about Ross Perot not that long ago. There's got to be something about Ross Perot with this story, right? Because he's a billionaire who's now running for president. And I was at work, and at 11:05, I looked at my phone. I went to Yahoo, and I saw the story about Ross Perot dying. And that was a few hours later, and I was like, what are the odds Ross Perot is now in the media for dying just after they announced this billionaire president, or billionaire is running for president, reminding me of Ross Perot. And then he dies. They announced that he dies just a few hours later. And even funnier is when I looked them up, they share the same birthday, June 27th. Look at this. You can't even make this up. Ross Perot, born on June 27th. Tom Steyer, or however you say his name, June 27th. He announces he's running for president as a billionaire on the same day that a former billionaire president guy runs for president, What are the odds? Also, what was interesting is, back when I was looking at that Saturday Night Live stuff, I knew that there was something important to, I thought it was the TV, I thought it was Dana Carvey and his portrayal of Ross Perot on Saturday Night Live. I remembered there was a skit where the guy laughed really high, and there was something to do with big ears, and I couldn't figure out what that was from, and I couldn't find it, so I didn't document about it, because I thought it was on Saturday Night Live. And recently, my daughter's been watching a whole lot of the TV show Nickelodeon, and I noticed that they brought back the TV show called All That. And then it hit me. I remembered that it wasn't on Saturday Night Live. It was actually a skit on All That, which is basically a kid's version of Saturday Night Live, right? And what are the odds? They just bring back All That on June 15th. So, less than a month before Ross Perot dies, they bring back the TV show called All That. And I noticed it was the 172nd episode, which stuck out right away, because if you go back to the very first video I ever made in this style on YouTube, I talked about Weird Al and how everything about Weird Al was the number 27, and he openly admits that he likes the number 27, and it follows him. And he was even on like Wheel of Fortune 2 times, and one time he won like $2,700, and the other time he won like $27,000, and his name, Weird Al Yankovic, or Vic, equals 172, and if you write out 27 as words, it equals 172. And I looked at this girl who played Ross Perot on All That, and her birthday just so happened to be on the 27th of April. And this stuck out to me because Ross Perot was also born on the 27th of June, and so was Tom Steyer. He was born on the 27th of June. And if you notice, they were born exactly 27 years apart. And in regards to billionaires, in gematria, the word money just so happens to equal 27. The word money, 27. And I'll write out 27 just so you can see that it equals 172 as well. It also equals 46, which Ross Perot equals 46. And he died, he's connected to this Tom Steyer guy in the number 27. We also had just recently got the death of Tyler Skaggs, the Los Angeles Angels player, and he died at the age of 27. And let me find it here. Then just after we get all of this stuff with Ross Perot, we get a story about the Dow Jones hitting 27,000 for the first time. And it was 27 days after Donald Trump's birthday. And once again, the word money equals 27. Donald Trump, we were told he won the election on the 27th anniversary of the Berlin Wall coming down. And, think about Donald Trump being the billionaire president, and think about Wall Street. So I knew there was something important to this, the money theme that has been going on ever since Donald Trump's been in office. It's been an important thing. Even since he was running for president, there's been all of these things connected to Wall and Wall Street and so on. And, if you write out stock market crash, it equals 103, which is the 27th prime number. And once again, Ross Perot equals 46, just like if you write out 27. They brought back all that on the 172nd episode. He also died in Dallas, Texas. It equals 46. A big thing I've been talking about is the band Slipknot. Slipknot equals 46. Their bass player, Paul Gray, died 46 days before his birthday. So there was also the story of a billionaire coal executive dying in a helicopter crash in the Bahamas. And think about the Slipknot narrative with Donald Trump saying he was Batman at the Iowa State Fair in a helicopter, right? And what's interesting about Slipknot playing for the first time ever at the Iowa State Fair, it's going to be on August 10th, which is the first day of Tisha B'Av. It's this big important day that I've been following for a number of years now with Rocky Colavito. There's something important to August 10th. And this year seemingly is the most important year for it. And in regards to that date, it is the day that Herbert Hoover was born. Herbert Hoover was the president from Iowa, the only president from Iowa. He was the president when the stock market crash happened, and his birthday just so happens to be on 8/10. And when you look up Ross Perot, he died 8 months and 10 days after the anniversary of the stock market crash. And he was born, it was 89 years ago, and he died at the age of 89. So I was like, how interesting. He would die 8 months and 10 days after that day. And there's this big narrative connected to money. This helicopter crash happened on the 185th day of the year. Stock market crash also equals 185, just like if you write out Donald John Trump, just like if you write out World Trade Center, and so on. So anyway, I was thinking about all this narrative that I've been documenting about, and what Ross Perot was important to this narrative with Wayne's World and so on. And I went back up and I looked up Wayne's World. Wayne's World just so happened to come out 27 years ago. What are the odds? Wayne's World comes out 27 years ago. Think about Freddie Mercury and the song Bohemian Rhapsody that got really famous, or at least a lot of people recognize the song Bohemian Rhapsody from the film Wayne's World. There's a part in the beginning of the movie, where they headbang to Bohemian Rhapsody and whatnot, right? So, but think about Freddie Mercury, the guy who sings that song. Freddie Mercury. Mercury is the god of financial gain and commerce, or the god of money. Mercury, mercantile, Freddie Mercury. Keep in mind that what I was talking about in 2015 was connected to Freddie Gray and the films Drop Dead Fred that came out in 1991, and also the other film called Freddy's Dead, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the Freddy Krueger movie, came out in 1991, and then in November that year, Freddie Mercury died. So a film called Freddy's Dead came out, and then, Drop Dead Fred came out, and then later that year, the film Freddy's Dead came out, and then Freddie Mercury, this famous rock star, dies in November, Just all pre-programming stuff. That's why the movies came out at the time that they did. And there's a lot more to it. Even the band Queen. Think about the band Queen and the Queen of England, Queen Elizabeth, and Freddy Krueger is played by Robert Englund, right? I mean, it's just such a joke. Even more so that I know that it's important to Wayne's World is that Wayne's World is actually a film that is set in Aurora, Illinois. It's a fictional TV show that they start in their basement, right? And it's from Aurora, Illinois, of all places. Aurora, Illinois. Also, the stuff that I was talking about on February 15th that was in connection to all of this was this duck boat symbolism, which last summer I was talking about this drowning theme and how it was synced up to this duck theme and the Mighty Ducks and Goldberg the goalie from the Mighty Ducks. And then a few days later, we got the Ride the Ducks boat drowning that happened, right? I even mentioned how there's something to do with drowning. Maybe we're going to get another story about drowning. And then, of course, we got a story about a duck boat drowning. You know, what are the odds that it would be something to do with a duck that I was talking about in connection to this drowning theme? And then we get a duck boat drowning. And in 2015, there was also a duck boat crash that happened on the Aurora Bridge in Seattle. And, you know, once again, so we got Aurora, Illinois shooting on 2/15. The last time that Wayne's World aired was on 2/15 of the year 15. And it's set in Aurora, Illinois. And that year 15 is reminding me of the Kanye West stuff with Bohemian Rhapsody that's synced up to the film Wayne's World. You know, it was connected to the Aurora Bridge duck boat crash. Donald Trump said he was Batman at the Iowa State Fair. Then we get a story about a billionaire crashing in a helicopter. And Batman's important because of the Aurora Batman shooting. So, you know, there's something really important to it. The Dark Knight equals 215. Also, remember in that movie, in the Batman movie, it was all about, or it wasn't all about it, but a big thing that people remember is that Joseph Gordon-Levitt was in that film. And, you know, he's the kid in Angels in the Outfield. And then we get the Angels player dying. And then we get the big old tribute to him on his birthday. That, or, you know, the day before his birthday, a tribute to his birthday that maybe I'll talk about later. But I even mentioned in this post here how Nipsey Hussle was important to what I've been documenting about too. And, you know, his wife used to date Lil Wayne, which I thought was important. And I even mentioned Lil Wayne's song, My Homies Still, that came out just before the Batman shooting, that had the skeletons in the movie theater, if you recall. And he even talks about closing his third eye and a bunch of other things. You know, he's talking about the Illuminati stuff. In his song, they have skeletons in the movie theater. Then a movie theater is supposed to get shot up, you know, a Batman movie. And just after I documented this, the very next night, there was a story about Lil Wayne and how he was going to leave his tour with Blink-182. And that's important because of that Area 51 storming stuff. Because if you know the band Blink-182, Tom DeLonge is the guy that's all about aliens and so on. They even have the song called Aliens Exist. Tom DeLonge just a year ago or so was in the media, you know, showing that they found proof of aliens. He's also a Freemason. He also has that band called Angels and Airwaves, right? And this story about Lil Wayne not quitting the Blink-182 concert, the story came out 2 months and 15 days before his birthday, right? Like 215, reminding me of Saturday Night Live stuff. And I did have synchronicity with this too, because I actually was just looking at this Tom DeLonge video that I had made about aliens, and it was from March 15th of 2018, because some non-awake people had added me on Facebook, and I wanted to post a video that I hadn't posted before that explained gematria, you know, in a decent way to where they could maybe pick up on it, and I was going to post a video. And I was just randomly watching this video that has a lot of good information in it, and then all of a sudden we get this, you know, Lil Wayne story that's connected to Blink-182. And I remember there was this stuff going on about Area 51 and aliens. And right as I was typing up this blog, I heard the TV say the word aliens. And it was, of course, Troll Hunter that's been important to what I've been talking about. this major troll theme, but or actually it wasn't Troll Hunter, it's the spin-off show called Three Below. Basically it's like a trilogy, and the first trilogy part of it is about trolls and trolls in this town of Arcadia, and the second one is about these aliens apparently, and the third one is about wizards. And we also have that story about Bill Gates saying that Steve Jobs was a wizard or something, and I don't even know. There's something going on with this TV show on Netflix, or this series. I think they're going to be releasing Wizards at the end of this year too. I think December of 2019 is what it said. So, but there's a lot that goes along with this. I just wanted to kind of make a video to touch base. Also, Iowa, there's something really important to Iowa. So we got the first president, the president during the stock market crash is the only president from Iowa. And I've been talking about how this year is important to the pig year, which is important to Iowa because Iowa just so happens to be the state that, has the most pig farms. They kill the most pigs. I was just thinking about it because my dad works at basically a pig killing plant, farmland, or I think it's called Smithfield now, but it's important. And think about Marilyn Manson and Charles Manson and how they were important to this Slipknot stuff, August 9th, August 10th. Think about death to pigs. Think about piggy banks in regards to the stock market crash. Paul Gray, the Slipknot bass player who died, who was important to this narrative. His nickname was the Pig. And Iowa is also really important to France. Their flag is based on the flag of France. It was part of French Louisiana. France has been really important to August 10th, and just this year in general, coming up after August 10th, because it'll be the 227th anniversary of the fall of the French monarchy. And I don't know if you've noticed, but we've got a lot of stories about Iowa in the mainstream media recently. We had this one about, just today, about Terry Branstad, the former Iowa governor, who's now an ambassador in China. Well, let's see if it's not even on here anymore. It was here like an hour ago. I think I still have it pulled up somewhere. Maybe I don't have it pulled up, but there's been a bunch of stories about Iowa. If you've been paying attention to the media, I've noticed a whole lot of stories. Joe Biden's going to go to Iowa soon. I think he's going to be in Manning, Iowa. Can't even remember. I saw somebody share that he's going to be in Manning, Iowa on Facebook. So, of course, they're not on here now, but they were. I know there was one about Terry Branstad and something to do with a gay guy or something. Here's one. Jury finds ex-Iowa governor discriminated against gay official. Of course, he's a Scottish Rite Freemason, too. I thought it was interesting the person in the story was Christopher Godfrey, and we just had Gilbert Godfrey doing the whole Golden Gate Bridge thing on August 11th, so. And I know it's a different spelling and all, but it just reminds me of his name, Gottfried or whatever, and Godfrey. A long time ago, I even had this deal about, there was a story about the wildfires and the smoke reached Iowa, and the person was God alive, oh hello, or something. So who knows? I know there was another story about Kim Reynolds. Can't remember what the story was about, but there has been a ton of Iowa stories within the mainstream media lately, and it has a lot to do with the primaries and whatever else. But maybe it's something to do with the election. Then maybe it's nothing. Maybe that's all it is. It's just all of this Iowa stuff is somehow there's something important to the election stuff that's going on. It just sure seems to be connected to Slipknot playing the Iowa State Fair for the first time. It absolutely is connected to that, whether something happens in Iowa or, on that day or whatever. There's something important to it. I also went back and rewatched Wayne's World, and right after they do the Bohemian Rhapsody scene where they headbang and whatnot, they go to whatever store it is, the coffee shop or whatever, and the cops there, and that's what they do the whole joke about. Do you smell bacon? Right? And, he's like, I get it. Bacon, pig, oink oink, police officer, right? So once again, something connected to the pigs. I've talked about why bacon was important. Francis Bacon gematria is important because of the pig year. I also noticed that Aurora is called the City of Lights, which reminds me of Paris, France, because Paris, France is the city of light. And you can't see it here, very well here, but they show this lion thing on here too. And World Lion Day is also August 10th. That has been really important to France. And it was important to this number 310. I know it's a lot. You have to be following me to understand what I am saying. But there's a huge lion narrative and how it's connected to Ethiopia. And that's why we got the air crash in Ethiopia on the date of 310. And it's synced up to their old ruler called Haile Selassie, who some believe is the Lion of the tribe of Judah. And that plane crash was going to Kenya, which is where The Lion King was set. And then we get the new movie The Lion King coming out. Obama said he was the Lion King. Obama was born during Leo, the time of the lion, right? Also, Haile Selassie, born on the first day of Leo, the lion. There's a bunch of, lion symbolism, all connected to whatever, August 10th, synced up to France and a bunch of other things. Ethiopia has been really important. Ethiopia is where the Ark of the Covenant is supposedly held. And in regards to all of the wall symbolism, it's interesting because remember, Donald Trump called out the nation about building the wall this year on Kim Jong-un's birthday. But just below it, we got the story about Chris Jericho joining a different wrestling league. And Chris Jericho was born on the anniversary of the Berlin Wall coming down, which is the same day Donald Trump, the guy who wants to build the wall, wins the election, and so on. But the walls of Jericho, or the Wall of Jericho, it came down after, they walked around it for 7 times, blowing 7 ram's horns, and on the 7th day, they blew the ram's horn 7 times, and then the wall came down. That's why I was talking about the Rams being in the Super Bowl, and the Rams were in the Super Bowl this year, losing to the Patriots. But they also carried the Ark of the Covenant around that wall as well, before the wall came down. So that's why I think Ethiopia is truly important. And the film Bohemian Rhapsody, it came out, or it's basically Freddie Mercury's life up to this film, or this show called Live Aid. And think about how he died from AIDS. You get the joke, but Live Aid. But if you look at Live Aid, it talks about how it was to raise funds for relief of the ongoing Ethiopian famine. So what are the odds of that, right? Another connection to what I'm talking about and how all these things are interrelated and so on, right? Live Aid, connected to Bohemian Rhapsody, connected to Ethiopia. Also connected to Philadelphia, because it was also held in Philadelphia. So something important I've been saying forever, that August 10th is seemingly important to this Hulk Hogan narrative with earthquakes and so on. Also, if you've followed what I said, this has Bob Geldof in it. He's the guy who organized this all. And Bob Geldof is the guy who plays Pink in the movie The Wall by Pink Floyd, right? And there's a whole other thing that's going on with Bob Geldof and so on, but I covered a long time ago how his daughter Peaches, she died on a Monday, and he has a song called I Don't Like Mondays. And she had a bunch of stuff about ghost pictures in her house just before she died and whatnot. She was really into studying Aleister Crowley and a bunch of other things. And Aleister Crowley is really important to this 310 stuff, because Aleister equals 310. His real name's Edward Crowley, that equals 310. His name equals 215, like the Saturday Night Live stuff I was talking about. And in regards to money, money also equals 72. And Aleister Crowley died age 72. This year will be the 72nd anniversary of his death. And think about him and the 72 chief spirits or demons of the Goetia. And he supposedly met the demon or whatever named Awas that equals 72. And Awas looked like the gray alien, right? See how it all is interrelated? Awas, the gray alien. Now they're storming Area 51. You know, tinfoil hat equals 51. Area 51, the word conspiracy equals 51. Another big case in aliens was the Lubbock Lights. Lubbock Lights equal 51. That happened in the year 51. Gray aliens equal 51. Or maybe just gray alien equals 51. One or the other. You know, Kanye West equals 51. So, it's definitely interesting. So, yes, I just wanted to point out some other stuff here. I also talked about this exorcism in Erling, Iowa that was important to marathons, and that's why Nipsey Hussle was important a while back. The word marathon equals 310. The girl who was supposedly possessed in this first famous exorcism, her name equaled 310, Emma Schmidt or something. And she came from Marathon, Wisconsin, and the town Erling used to be called Marthon, but they changed the name to Erling because there was already a town called Marathon in Iowa. So maybe I need to look at the town Marathon, Iowa. Maybe there's something important to that. I'll do that at a later time, but definitely something important. We just got a story about Pink, too, responding to the criticism over her kids at the Holocaust Memorial. Of course, it was 310 days after her birthday. What are the odds of that? And even more funny is that we just got a story about Kanye West finally being not broke anymore. Kanye West says he is no longer in debt, which is just a strange story. And we also got that, I think it was the same day, we got a story about Corey Taylor, the lead singer of Slipknot, and how he's slamming Holocaust deniers. And then this Pink story, it comes, you know, at the Holocaust Memorial. The word Holocaust equals 227. And that number is huge important to France, right? The 227th anniversary of the fall of the French monarchy 227. French Revolution 227. Napoleon born on the 227th day. Just like Nipsey Hussle was born on that day. Just like how Ben Affleck was born on that day. Just like how Donald Trump said he was Batman at the Iowa State Fair on that day. 227. Really, really, really important. And last year the Pink stuff was all about August 10th and August 6th. So I'll find the link to that playlist as well. Leave that in the description. I know it's a lot to take in, but if you've been following me for at least a year, you would understand everything I'm talking about in this video. So, Holocaust, of course, reminds us of World War and a bunch of other stuff that I've documented about too. Might just end the video here. I'm not going to end it actually. I want to say a few more things. So, a lot of what I've recently been documenting about was in regards to what I was documenting about in April of this year. And I had that crazy synchronicity that was synced up to Saturday Night Live with my friend Cody. And my friend Cody was also important to the birth of my son that YouTube blocked worldwide, the video. And he was the only one to call me at the hospital when my son was born. And their names both equaled 72 in Gematria. And right after I got done talking to him, I came in and I sat down in the chair and I looked up at the TV and it was Family Guy and this girl was having a baby and it said, "It's a boy." And I was like, what are the odds of that? I'm at the hospital. I sit down. The first thing I see on the TV is a girl having a baby and they say it's a boy. And then my girlfriend just had our son and so on earlier in the day or whatever. And I looked up that episode. It just happened to be the 72nd episode of Family Guy. And on that episode, just after that happens, it goes to a skit with Sylvester Stallone and Tony Danza, right? Tony Danza is the guy who uh dies, or the angel, he's going to turn into an angel, and he's in the movie Angels in the Outfield. He wins the game, right? Tony Danza. Just want to see if I could find this post really quick. Yeah, it skips over to a scene with Sylvester Stallone and Tony Danza. And once again, Tony Danza is the guy who basically dies at the end of Angels in the Outfield, right? And he becomes an angel. And then we get the Angels player dying. If you remember, on the anniversary of the 227th anniversary of the storming of the Bastille, Sylvester Stallone was there, and we got the Nice, France van attack, and the media had a story about him, and they made it look like the Statue of Liberty. Let's see here, Statue of Liberty, right here. See how he looks like the Statue of Liberty somewhat? So I know it's important to France. Iowa's important to France. There's all of this stuff. The Cloverfield movie I talked about in this post, and that was important to the Westroads Mall shooting that happened in Omaha just after the movie Cloverfield came out, with the main character named Robert Hawkins, right? And then Robert Hawkins supposedly shoots up the Westroads Mall in Omaha, which makes me think that it might be connected to the movie or the Netflix show Stranger Things that's in Hawkins. So, I don't know, just something to think about. But the reason that it's just so funny with my friend Cody as well, because he's the one who I started writing a gematria book, just better explaining a lot of these things that I'm talking about, and organizing them in a way that you can understand the 4 hours that I would have to talk to re-explain everything, and he's the one who kind of inspired me to write this book back in April, because I always try to explain stuff to him and he's just like overwhelmed, even though he's like, you cannot deny this. He's just overwhelmed with the massive amount of information that goes along with it. He knows that there's something that just doesn't make sense with it, and it's just, you can't deny what I'm talking about. But it's too much for people's brains to comprehend, I feel like. And he just had made me want to write a book. So I started writing this book, and a big thing I was writing about was about the Kanye West and Corey Taylor stuff. And I wrote about it, and then I went to my nephew's birthday party, and I come home and I see Zach has a blog post about Freddie Mercury and the Queen. Just a random blog post that has nothing to do with anything. He doesn't know I'm even writing this or anything. I just wanted to point it out. Writing all about this symbolism with Freddie Mercury and the Queen and so on. And I get home after I do that, and then Zach has this post about Freddie Mercury and all that, and then all of a sudden Corey Taylor's in the news, then Kanye West is in the news, all the Saturday Night Live stuff starting to come back up. So it's just funny how it all works that way, because I only started writing about that because it's such an easy narrative for me to write about, because I'm still following it to this day. There's this narrative that is going on with it. Also, you know, the Angels player, his middle name's Wayne. And back around that same time where I was documenting about this stuff, I mentioned how there was something with John Wayne as well. And can't remember the Amberly Barnett story, like her grandpa or something, his name was John Wayne something, and then John Wayne was a racist, and some other things that were going on. And then I was talking about Wayne's World. I also talked about how I rewatched some of the Wonder Years episodes that has his older brother who is Wayne, and just weird stuff. And then now I'm talking about Little Wayne, Wayne's World. I noticed that Tyler Skaggs' middle name is Wayne. There's a big narrative with the Houston Astros with him as well. So I might make a separate video on that. But remember, Houston's in the 713 area code, and that's his birthday. And that was important to all the stuff that happened as a tribute to him. Wikipedia too. Back in the time I was talking about Kanye West and Slipknot, I went to Wikipedia to change something on Corey Taylor's Wikipedia, and Wikipedia changed it back at 431, which was the 83rd prime, which Paul Dedrick Gray equaled 83. He died in room 431. They changed it back at 431, and so on. But I even cited a source and everything, and they changed his name back. And from that day on, I knew that Wikipedia was run by people. I knew that there was people writing narratives on Wikipedia and then changing it at a later date to form a different narrative. They just change things that don't make any sense to be changing. There's no reason to change Beethoven. The guy died how many years ago? Nothing should be different about Beethoven on Wikipedia. But they go in and write like something weird like, oh, his mom died when he was age 8 and his dad raised him for 8 years or something. Just weird stuff like that. They leave in there. And with this Tyler Skaggs story, he died just after playing the Oakland Athletics. And then the last combined no-hitter in California was Oakland on 7/13/91, and there was this tribute, right? What was it? 7 runs in the first, had 13 hits. They won with 13 points, and so on. And there's just this big narrative with Oakland, right? And I went back to Wikipedia because Wikipedia says that on Angels in the Outfield, it says that the team that he sees the first angel against was the Oakland Athletics. And if you watch the movie, it's actually the Toronto Blue Jays. So why did somebody go on here on March 4th of 2019 and change this movie to Oakland Athletics when it was Toronto Blue Jays before? Why would they do that? It makes no sense whatsoever to do that. It absolutely has nothing to do with anything. So they changed it to the Oakland Athletics, the team that he dies just after playing. And I know why they did it, because this guy's name equals 85. And, so does Tyler Wayne Skaggs, so does Los Angeles Angels, so do Toronto Blue Jays. And he died after their 85th game of the season. So I'm telling you, they knew that he was gonna die. They had to have murdered this guy. You know what I'm saying? Why would they change it? It's just pointless. It can't even be a mistake. It's just the most pointless thing to go in there and change. And then it fits the narrative of what they've been trying to do. There's something with Oakland that's important to it. Let me find it here. Actually, I wrote it right up here. But Oakland's important to the earthquake symbolism as well. Remember the 1989 earthquake during the 86 season of the Major League Baseball? This year on August 11th, they're doing that tribute with the Giants, who lost to the Oakland Athletics, I believe, in the 1989 Earthquake World Series. So it's just interesting they would change it to the Oakland Athletics on the Angels in the Outfield. And then there's this big tribute that they do saying that the last time it happened was in Oakland. But I'll make a separate video on this. I'm done rambling on this, but just keep in mind that Houston's in the 713 area code. Just had the death of George Bush and Barbara Bush 7 months and 13 days apart. And he died 113 days before the World Series begins. And remember, the Astros won the 113th World Series. And the other night, my phone decided to pop up this notification for me and to tell me that the Angels and the Astros were playing, which is weird because, it doesn't put anything else on there. It just pops up randomly, so I'm like, maybe I need to watch that game and find that see what happens if it's important. And it ends up being 6-9. If you know gematria, you know the World Series equals 69. The Astros lost 6-9. Angels equals 115 in Francis Bacon. It's the 115th World Series. And in regards to Iowa stuff, the Astros coach is from Iowa. And we just had the Toronto Raptors. Think about the Toronto Blue Jays and whatnot. But the Toronto Raptors, their coach Nick Nurse was also from Iowa. So the Astros coach is 45 years old, and everything about Tyler Skaggs synced up to 45. So I don't know. Gonna keep following the narrative. I wonder if it's for the Astros to be in the World Series. Maybe the Astros versus the Dodgers again or something. Because they had that story with the Dodgers that kept playing during the earthquake and whatnot. Need to look more into it, but interesting. So I'm done rambling. So much I could talk about. You know, you can always come to the blog, but have a good one. Peace.